Armored Core 6 is absolutely, hands down, one of my favorite new games of this year. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's the best game that I've played in 2023, but it is a whole heck of a lot of fun, and that's really what counts at the end of the day, isn't it? The gameplay feels great. I love all the customization. The world it takes place in is interesting. Boss fights are fantastic, and quite the challenge as well. The game is just a good old-fashioned good time. It's also a nice break from the live service monetization hell I'm so accustomed to. None of that is present here. Nope, it's just here's a video game that's fun to play, sit down and enjoy it. When you're done, that's fine too. No FOMO-induced anxiety trying to lure you back in. Oh, and there's the fact that you get to build and play as these massive, hulking mechs moving fast and breaking everything in your path. I mean, what's not to like? It's good stuff, dude. So at its core, Armored Core 6 is a game where you play as a gun for hire, piloting ACs for various groups and corporations who are in a tug-of-war battle for this ultra-valuable resource that's also highly combustible to the point of causing a cosmic planet engulfing firestorm. Super fun stuff. And that's about all I got for you in terms of the game's story. I don't want to spoil anything, for one, but also because I just want to talk about my favorite parts of this game, which are actually playing the game. So gameplay in Armored Core 6 centers around the omnidirectional battles, with you taking on one or numerous threats in three-dimensional warfare. Because you pilot a mech and are able to move not only horizontally forward and backwards, but also vertically up and down, and most of your opponents can do the same thing, this makes for fast and hectic encounters where positioning and situational awareness are key to victory. Combine this with a variety of combat arena sizes, configurations, and layouts that really keep things fresh from one encounter to the next as you travel through the game's story, taking on various new challenges along the way. You've got loads of tools at your disposal to aid in the combat. There are 4 weapon slots with both left and right hand and back units, which you'll fill with a variety of kinetic, explosive, and energy weapons. So you've got rifles, shotguns, SMGs, launchers, lasers, and more. There's also melee weapons, shields, charge attacks, and boost kicks. Beyond the basic movement, you've also got the ability to dash, do quick turns, drifting, and the assault boost, and there's some extra tools including the ability to scan your surroundings. You've got single target lock on, multi-lock, manual aim, and expansion slots with very strong offensive and defensive enhancements. And all of this comes together to create a very diverse tool set that clearly has a ton of potential for high-level skilled play. On a regular basis, you might find yourself assault boosting at full speed towards a group of enemies. You engage the multi-lock to spread your back-mounted launcher's 10 missiles evenly among everyone within range, while simultaneously unloading your dual-wielded SMGs on that one high-health target. As they line up this heavy-hitting rocket shot, you'll get an audio trigger that warns you to sidestep, which evades the attack just as your weapons run out of ammo. And then while those are reloading, you might quickly swap to your offhand melee weapon to land a finishing blow before leaping straight up into the air, now that your missile launcher has reloaded and is primed for attack, firing one final volley off on whoever is left. All of this happens within the span of 5 to 10 seconds while playing the game on a regular basis. It is just fantastic. Combat feels smooth and responsive. The sounds are chunky. Movement is fluid. While speed and maneuverability do vary depending on your particular AC build, even the slower ones like the tanks do feel really good to maneuver. The moment-to-moment act of playing Armored Core 6 is simply satisfying. It clearly rewards good and proper play, and it has a lot of variety. This is especially highlighted in my second favorite part of this game, which are the boss fights. While I cannot say how these compare to prior Armored Core titles, as the last time I played one, which I'm pretty sure was the first game, was all the way back in the late 90s. However, as this is a FromSoft title and I am experienced with those, I can say that the boss fights feel very similar in structure and design to what I'm accustomed to from the Souls franchise. Bosses have very particular movement and attack patterns. They have these motions they go through with telegraphed attacks and phases that have distinct animations and tells. They can also be very very challenging. A handful of the main bosses that I encountered took me well over an hour of trial and error learning before I was finally able to defeat them. Either because I wasn't reading the attacks properly, I wasn't learning the boss animations fast enough, or not responding quickly enough to incoming attacks, or the particular AC build that I had wasn't properly suited for the encounter. And this would have me thinking on several occasions, do I need more maneuverability to try to help with dodging attacks? attacks? If so, what sort of maneuverability? Do I need to side dash further, jump higher, or hover longer in the air? Should I be using different damage types? Maybe I need to swap from kinetic to energy damage or from energy to explosive. Do I need more burst for unloading damage within short windows, or more sustained damage to keep the pressure on, moving the boss from one phase into the next? There's just so much fine-tuning potential for your AC that can help give you the edge in a boss fight. In general, I would say that customization and tinkering with your mech is a very large part of this game. I didn't find it excessively so, like I wasn't having to change massive parts of my build for every single encounter. However, whenever I did happen to find myself stuck, oftentimes it was just a matter of making some adjustments that made all the difference. And just like Souls games, boss fights can initially seem very hectic and overwhelming. You'll have so much flying at you, huge attacks, explosions going off, millions of bullets, and just tons of damage sources for you to duck, dash, and weave through, with very small windows of opportunity for you to attack in return. However, also just like Souls bosses, these can all be studied and memorized to the point of perfection. At first, these fights seem crazy and over the top and almost unbearable, but they are all very, very mechanical in a sense that they are things that you can learn, and if you study enough, you will figure it out, and then you can just play it perfectly if you can execute it perfectly. So yeah, those two things were my major highlights for the game. I just think the gameplay, the movement, the combat feels great, and then that in particular during the boss fights really all comes together to synchronize for a really enjoyable, satisfying experience. Other positives for this game, I think the setting is really interesting. You've got this very desolate location, this massive infrastructure all over this place on this planet that also seems just completely devoid of life, because it basically is due to the burning hellfires that came. Also, the music is great. I mean, I found myself while not playing the game still having the music running in my head. It just got a very hypnotizing sound to it. Oh, and another real big positive was performance. Nothing to report. It just ran really well, and that is great news. That's great news nowadays. All right, now with that stuff covered, I'd like to go over how the game is structured, what there is to do, the different aspects of Armored Core 6. So first we've got the missions. This is the game's main campaign and what will account for a bulk of your first playthrough. And I say first because Armored Core does have New Game Plus. So there are 59 missions in total. These are divided into 5 chapters, although you won't see every single one of those missions on your very first playthrough. As you recall, the game has you effectively playing the role of mercenary as you take on jobs for these various groups. In several sections of the campaign, you are basically given multiple mission choices that amount to, hey, which side do you want to fight for in this particular situation? So picking one will omit the others until you happen to come back around and try again on New Game Plus. And the length of a playthrough is going to vary wildly from person to person. This could be anywhere from 15 hours to upwards of 40, 50 plus, depending on a lot of factors. Did you run just straight through the campaign as quickly as possible? Did you spend time in the arena dueling to help work towards upgrades? Did you also spend some time doing PvP? How much time did you spend customizing ACs or testing builds? And also, not a small portion of this game is, did you go through replaying missions? You can and should run through the missions that you've already played through numerous times as you progress through the game. That's because they've got an S rank system that basically rates your performance based on the number of kills, your clear time, the damage taken, the ammunition used, and a whole other range of factors. The better you perform, the higher your rank. The higher your rank, the more currency you're going to get as a reward, and that currency is used in the part shop in order to purchase all of the various parts for your AC. Also, it's just plain old fun to run through these missions again. They were clearly designed in a way to be played over and over again, because as you progress and you unlock new ACs, new weapons, passive skills, and open up different playstyles, it's a lot of fun to take that stuff and then go back through missions trying to optimize how you play. And I gotta say, the missions in this game vary wildly in size. Some are as simple as load in and fight a small group or even a single enemy. Others are more expansive, and they having you move through larger areas, up or down vertical mines, and going up, climbing up towers, completing objectives, or taking out targets. Some of them are just straight up boss fights. Every single mission in the game that you go through can be replayed, and it's likely that you will want to replay them over and over again as you try to perfect your performance and hit those S ranks. I mean, you could just sit there replaying the same mission for 5 hours straight, just trying to get better and better, use the least amount of ammo, perfect your positioning and your movement, how you take on the objective, objectives, how you take on each of the encounters. It is one of those games where you can get really, really granular with how you approach every single one of the 59 total missions that are in the game. So yeah, that could add a ton of time to your initial playthrough. They've also got things like the training mode. This is essentially an extended tutorial that teaches you more complex combat mechanics and maneuvers, along with introducing you to the different variety of AC types. There's the AC test, where you can test one of your builds versus AI enemies, just a mix of like the bipedal and tetrapod MTs, drones, as well as facing off against other ACs. Then there is the entire AC design portion, which is a huge part of this game. Tons of customization. There's loads to do. So you've got the unit, which includes your right and left arm, as well as right and left back. There's the frame itself, which is your head, core, arms, and legs. The inners, which account for your boosters, FCS, and generator. And then finally, the expansion system, which is kind of like limited use ultimates for missions. Big, powerful, temporary boost for your character. So as you play through the game, you unlock more weapons, frames, and inner components as you continue to progress. These come from various manufacturers within the game. And the more you play, the more build and playstyle variety there is to choose from, all of which is around balancing your movement, your firepower with the various loads, your equipment load and your energy load. There's tons of other customization. There's cosmetic customization, as you can change the color of your mech, add decals. You can even make your own decals in the image editor. Wonder if that's going to be monitored for what you expect from that. And there's also the AC data system, where it basically lets you save loadouts for different purposes. This could be as simple as you might have one lightweight, one medium, and one heavy AC build, or you can go way more granular, mixing and matching the different components and weapons for various situations. They actually have 40 save slots per user and then 4 user tabs. So there are a lot of save slot options for you to have all sorts of different ACs for whatever you want. The part shop is where you go to buy and sell these various individual parts for your AC. It is worth noting that every single part has the exact same selling and buying price. So if you're looking for a particular new weapon, for example, but you're short on cash, you could sell something that you don't use and then just buy it back later when you have more money. There's no penalty for doing so. They just let you freely exchange currency for weapons back and forth. And another thing that I really liked in this game was the arena system. So these are basically duels where you face off against other ACs that are AI, starting off in F rank and then moving your way all the way up. And I gotta say, as I was going through and doing this, for one, it's just a good challenge to do some like 1v1 versus another AC, even if it is just AI. Some of the names and call signs made me legitimately chuckle. I don't know, I got a kick out of this. Like the first enemy AC in the F tier that you go up against is called Mad Stomp. The call sign is Invincible Rummy. And I just thought that was comical because he's the first AC. It's hilarious that his call sign is invincible, because you pretty much crush him on immediately. And then there was also like Candle Ring, call sign Ring Freddy. I don't know, a bunch of the other, there was one called Milk Tooth. I just got a kick out of these names. I thought it was really funny to have these big imposing mechs with names like Candle Ring and Milk Tooth. I don't know, I just thought it was funny. So going through these arenas is pretty important, because the first time you defeat someone in one of these duels, you are rewarded OST chips, and this is what you use for the game's upgrade progression system. This is the OS tuning. It's broken up into various categories. So first there is the systems unlock, and this actually gives you access to entirely new mechanics. There's the boost kick, which is a high velocity kick that can be used in conjunction with the assault boost, deals a ton of damage. The weapon bay that lets you replace the shoulder weapons with hand weapons. So for example, you can be dual wielding, say, SMGs and then have a sword mounted on your shoulder rather than just like missile launchers, for example. This opens up a whole lot more variety and combination potential. Weight control lets you start a mission with an overburdened AC, so you can just really bump up the weight but still start missions if you just want to be a heavy hitter. You can unlock manual aiming, which is pretty huge, as well as quick turn that allows for snap turns to side or rear. There are the core expansions. These are sort of like the ultimates in the game. There's assault armor, pulse armor, terminal armor, and pulse protection. These are temporary, very strong buffs that are both offensive and defensive. There are the attack controls. This just increases damage for your kinetic, explosive, and energy weapons. There's one for melee and direct hits, and you can also unlock faster access speed, which is just like hacking when you're in certain points of interest. And then the final tier of OS tuning is damage control. This offers you damage mitigation as well as increased healing from repair kits. So yeah, this is like the long-term progression. It's almost like a talent tree of sorts within the game. The more you play, the more duels you unlock, the more you defeat these enemies within the arena, gets you more currency to upgrade all of your ACs across the board. So that is a bulk of what is in the game, although I do want to note that within this review, there were a few things that I missed. Most importantly, the PvP. For some reason, the servers were just not running, and I double checked with my point of contact for the review, and they were just having issues. Within the time, which was a handful of days that I played this game, the servers to PvP were simply not up online. I just couldn't fight other people, and that is a massive shame because it's pretty clear to me that PvP could be a ton of fun with all of the different types of ACs, the build variety, the outplay potential in this game with all of the tools at your disposal in combat. I think PvP could be huge for this game. I certainly believe this is one of those games that could have like this really hardcore dedicated PvP audience, and I think at the very least it would be a ton of fun right when the game launches to jump in and just mess around with people while there's still lots of people populating this mode of the game. So I'm looking forward to trying this out once Armored Core 6 officially releases. And then also, I just haven't had enough time to go through and play the New Game Plus. I do know it exists. I just haven't experienced it personally up until the point of doing this review. Hey, I mean, just playing the game, even replaying the same missions over and over again has been a lot of fun. So I'm curious to see what New Game Plus brings to the table to make that even more interesting and add more variety. While I am overall overwhelmingly positive on this game, I totally recommend it. There are a few negatives that I want to point out, although I also don't think they're that big of a deal. For one, I would say it seems like it's a bit of a compact experience, especially if you do not intend to play New Game Plus. Like I said, it could be as short as 15 to 20 hours. So I don't know if this is going to be a game that a lot of you will likely still be playing 1 to 2 months from now. On the other side of that, I don't think that's necessarily that big of a deal. Not every game has to be 100, 1,000 hours worth of entertainment. I'm totally happy with what I've played even just so far of AC6. Another negative would be that some of these missions feel so short as to be unnecessary. Like there are some missions that are just fighting a single elite enemy, which could amount to like 30 to 60 seconds grand total. Or there's even a few missions that are just like fight a handful of basic enemies, which also can be easily under 60 seconds for you to complete. On the flip side of that though, replaying missions for the perfect execution is clearly a big part of this game, so it's okay that they have a variety of encounter types. So you could keep replaying the 60-second mission and try to shave that time down to 25 seconds or whatever eventually. You know, you're trying to perfect these runs and trying to get those S ranks. That is why the entire replay mission system is its own separate portion of the game. And then the last negative I would say is just kind of like a personal thing. I would have loved, like, if you took this game's systems, its combat, its world, its setting, the enemies, the boss encounters, you took everything about this game, but just got rid of the mission stuff and made it like more, it doesn't have to be an open world game, but made it more open world. Like I would have really enjoyed a more expansive setting. There are some larger levels, but for the most part, everything is pretty contained. Everything is pretty on rails. And I just have this vision in my head of, core fans are going to hate this, but like Armored Core, Elden Ring. You know, whatever, you can hate it. And like I said, all of my negatives aren't really that big of a deal. That's not the game they were trying to make, so it's fine. So bottom line, end of the review, I absolutely recommend Armored Core 6. I think it's a fantastic game. It's been a super good time. I've had a lot of fun, and I want to keep on playing, and I probably would just keep on playing for the next week or two if it weren't for Starfield coming out and the fact that I'm going to be working on that review as well. But yeah, I really like this. I'm going to keep plugging away. I can't wait to check out the PvP. I can't wait to go through New Game Plus. Totally worth the cost of admission in my eyes. This is a good, easy recommendation for me for Armored Core 6. That's going to do it for the review. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.